people are refusing to pay the price for yet another crisis not of their own making, and they're winning. Our next video tells the stories of some of these workers who are joining together with colleagues to demand better. Following the video, I'll invite the General Secretary to make her final address to Congress and to move the General Counsel's statement on We Demand Better, a trade union response to the new government, the cost of living emergency and the coming recession.
In the 21 years of me working for the Underground, I've never had such camaraderie with other unions. I've never had such solidarity with other trade unions all over the world. And just the public support has been fantastic.
We can't underestimate the importance of job security, especially right now in the period of such extreme insecurity for people in this country.
When I first heard that I was going to lose my job and I'd been put on 12 weeks notice, I was devastated because I am a single parent and I'm a widow and I have my children and a mortgage to provide for.
When the dispute was over, we felt relieved and we were able to go back to work. It was quite a big thing for quite a lot of people to actually be out there for 8 weeks for us on the strike line or on the picket line and actually being out with all their colleagues.
When we won our dispute, which was a campaign for the living wage in Manchester, it felt great. It proved that we could actually achieve something by working together through collective action.
People are standing up and fighting back. The time has come. Whatever they're paying hefty dividends to shareholders, they can well afford to pay you a decent pay rise.
Tracy, when you started working on the buses 34 years ago, did you ever think you would become a national media story?
Never in a million years. I didn't know anything else. I loved the job I was doing. I've been doing it that long.
What is it that drove you and your members, Trevor, to strike action? First time, wasn't it?
It was the first time in 130 years for the company. We were literally fighting to stop us having a pay loss and slashes to terms and conditions.
And is it a similar story, Pat, in B&Q?
The cost of living crisis, it's not new. It's been around for many years, with the austerity cuts, and we had to set up a hardship fund to put food on the table for people. There were people saying, are they ever going to give in? Because they left us on the picket line for 11 weeks without even speaking to us.
How did you keep the spirits up?
We made it joyful. We had discos, flashing lights, karaoke's. We were very proud of the workers standing together and proving to others that it's achievable.
What about UCU? UCU's famous for its disco pickets.
It's an enormous victory for our staff. We've taken 4,800 people out of insecure employment. We started negotiating with the university 13 years ago. For some people, they can apply for a mortgage for the first time in their lives. I have colleagues saying, I will never have to tell my children again, it's going to be a baked bean month. There's no excuse from an employer saying, we don't have the money. We're the biggest university in the country. I think that's a really important message for today, that it is possible for people in trade unions to take action and win those disputes.
Now, the campaign that you've been helping to lead, what made that take off?
I think a lot of it was due to COVID, to be honest. We're going through a cost of living crisis and the Tory government are making consistent attacks on working people, so we need to stand together as one. I've heard about people going to food banks, people struggling to pay their rent, people being subsidised by universal credit and housing benefit, and it's just disgusting really. For someone doing such an important job, or any job in fact, they shouldn't have to worry about the basic things like rent and food on the table.
Making sure that our members are heard, making sure that the members get what they deserve, and making sure that the companies are held to account. I've had big picket lines before because we've had UCU across the road from us, and they always come over and we always go over theirs. We always seem to have coordinate. Picket neighbours. Trade unionism for us is a collective struggle. You vote collectively, you march collectively, you struggle collectively, and you fight collectively.
All these wins inspire people in the greater union movement, but also within our sector.
That little glimmer of hope for somebody can reinforce a picket line, can reinforce somebody's belief in what they are actually doing is correct, standing up for themselves, standing up for other people.
It's just been an absolute joy and a pleasure to have these people support me. It's been amazing. I'm still overwhelmed with it all.
you know, what I've heard today is just about human friendship between people and sticking up for each other in the trade union family.
You know, it's not just an insurance policy, it's a way of life.
But it's also when you stand up for yourself, you stand up for other members. And other members stand up for you.
Working families are facing the longest, harshest squeeze on living standards for generations. But union members are coming together across the movement to fight for fair pay and fair treatment. And we are winning. Welcome to the TUC, our Parliament for working people. We've got represented here in the hall today millions of workers who keep the wheels of this country turning. All they ask in return is respect and fair pay. And if it takes strike action, so be it. We stand with you. So let's hear it for our incredible care assistants and NHS staff, rail and bus workers, dedicated posties, come on, prison officers, call centre staff, refuse workers, dock workers, teachers, university lecturers, civil servants and many more. Conference, these are decent people who are honest and hard-working. But according to Liz Truss, British workers are layabouts, lacking graft, skill and application. The Prime Minister believes that Britain's poor productivity is down to the poor performance of workers. It's a bit rich from a PM whose own performance crashed the country. She didn't even turn up for work yesterday. And since her disastrous debut, we've had more U-turns from her than a malfunctioning sat-nav. And all this after 12 long years of Conservative governments that have slashed, burned and ripped off this country something rotten. While the sun was shining, the Tories didn't mend the roof, they nicked the lead off it. So let's have a reminder of what's happened under Tory governments. Which country has the worst investment in the G7? The UK. Which country has the worst wages growth in the G7? Don't need to tell workers this one. The UK. And which country has the worst economic growth in the G7? You've guessed it, the UK. That's your record, Prime Minister. That's the country your party has been running for the past 12 years. Now, to be fair, under the Conservatives, some things are growing. CEO pay, up. Corporate profits, up. Bankers' bonuses, up. And look what else. The cost of mortgages, NHS waiting lists, ambulance waiting times, child poverty, food banks, up, up, up. That means more kids going to bed hungry, more families afraid to put the heating on. But there is a real plan for growth. Trade unions want a growing economy that works for working people. High investment, high skills and high wages. Decent work, so workers don't need to go on strike to defend their pay. And we want a strong society that comes with growth, fairly shared. A well-funded NHS, schools, public services, a safety net to help us all in a crisis. No one growing up and no one growing old in poverty. A safe, secure, welcoming society. And more than that, a country of culture, music, football, books and brilliant TV. For over a decade now, the TUC has made that case for investment, for R&D, for innovation, for skills, to make things here in Britain. to meet the challenge of net zero with good green jobs, and to harness the big gains of new tech for all of us. We need an economy that rewards work, not wealth. But under the Conservatives, working people have got poorer, while shareholders have got richer. We're in the longest squeeze on real wages since Napoleonic times. And if ministers and employers keep hammering pay packets at the same rate, UK workers are on course to suffer 2 decades, 20 years of lost living standards. Over the next 3 years alone, real earnings are set to fall by another £4,000. We have got to stop the rot. Families can't afford to tighten their belts anymore. They're at breaking point. Just look at that disastrous mini-budget only a month ago. And I say this to Liz Truss: your budget wasn't pro-growth, it was pro-greed. Tax cuts for the rich with no plan for growth at all. That's why the markets got spooked. That's why the economy tanked. The PM may have dumped Kwasi Kwarteng and is now hiding behind Jeremy Hunt, or maybe under a desk, who knows. But she can't duck this one. We don't trust her government with our economy, and livelihoods are on the line. Now, some say Liz Truss must go. I think they're wrong. This whole rotten Tory government must go. The Tories are toxic. It's time for change. We need a general election now. We know who really creates wealth in this country, and it's not the hedge fund managers who made a mint by betting on the pound crashing. The real wealth creators are the people of this country. Now, Jeremy Hunt may be the new face at number 11, but it's the same old story. Lift the cap on bankers' bonuses, drive down workers' pay. Handouts for the wealthy and big business, cuts to universal credit and benefits. Give to the rich, take from everyone else. Robin Hood in reverse. Sherwood Forest, fracked. Working people are not fooled by trickle-down economics. It's the same old Tory money trick. Austerity means NHS waiting lists grow and businesses go bust. When workers get money, they spend it. When the rich get money, they offshore it. So I have a message for Liz Truss. Working people are proud of the jobs we do. We work hard. We work the longest hours in Europe. Yet thanks to your party's 12 years in government, millions are struggling to make ends meet. We don't need lectures on working harder. This country needs a proper plan for fairer, greener growth. The Prime Minister should answer another important question. If you really care about hard graft and performance, how come you gave Jacob Rees-Mogg a job? A man best known for lying horizontal on the Commons benches, who aims to make life even harder on the shop floor. He wants workers' rights that came from the EU stripped from the statute book. Important rights like holiday pay, time off for mums and dads, and safe limits on working time. But the Minister for the 19th century needs to wake up. The TUC has just asked people who voted Conservative in the last election what they think the government should do. 81% of Tory voters say protect our rights at work. And more, we demand action to tackle corporate gangsters. Never forget P&O, a prime example of everything wrong with UK labour laws. Loyal crew sacked without a second thought, shameless bosses admitting they'd broken the law, and ministers letting them get away with it. Worse rights at work won't rebuild Britain. Britain only does well when working people do well, and we demand a new deal, a better deal for working people. Now, the truth is, from Tolpuddle onwards, the establishment has always seen workers organising as a threat. And yes, we are. We are a threat. We're a threat to casino capitalism. We're a threat to the notion that you can divide workers. And we are a threat to exploitation and low pay. So just when the citizens of this country are in despair, when key workers' kids are going to school with holes in their shoes and young families are worried sick about the mortgage, this government's top priority is attacking the right to strike to make it harder to win fair pay. A cynical effort to distract from the chaos that they have caused. But I say this, if ministers want to pick a fight with us, we are more than ready. Today, I give them notice. We've already taken legal counsel. We know that you're in breach of international law and trade deals that enshrine labour standards, so read my lips. We will see you in court. Now, this winter, we all know, looks set to be a tough one. We face an emergency made in Downing Street, and the lights could go off all over Britain. Even with energy prices capped, average bills are set to double. Other costs have gone through the roof. Childcare, food, filling up the car. No one has cash to spare. And with inflation at 10%, we don't need wage restraint. It's time for some profit restraint. Taxpayers helped business with their bills. Now it's time for business to play their part. No layoffs this winter, no boardroom bonanzas, and no shareholder sprees. Put the cap back on bankers' bonuses. Let's have a bigger windfall tax on greedy energy giants. And don't just bail them out, bring them into public ownership. And more, protect benefits against inflation, invest in public services, and give us stronger workers' rights. Our nation of grafters have earned a fair day's pay for a fair day's work. That means a £15 minimum wage as soon as possible. Fair pay agreements to get wages rising for everyone. And it's time to do right by the people who've done us all proud. They got us through the pandemic, and we owe them. Give public servants a proper pay rise, a real pay rise, and give it now. And on November the 2nd, from every corner of the UK, we will rally to Westminster. And if this shower of a government is still clinging to power by then, we will demand that general election. We are trade unionists. Just as when the TUC proposed the furlough scheme at the start of the pandemic, we've got answers to the problems that Britain faces. We've seen the difference our movement makes right around the world, and from Amazon to Starbucks, growing membership, winning deals, proof that solidarity works, backed up by new laws from progressive governments from Spain to New Zealand, and we hope soon Brazil too. Governments who know that good jobs and rising wages are the route to a decent life. Change can come, and we can build it. Remember those kids. Remember those kids who save half their school dinners to take home for tea. Remember pensioners too poor to keep warm, and workers who can't afford to get sick while NHS waiting times soar. None of this is inevitable. These are political choices made by politicians, and we can vote them out. Now, as unions, our job is to win now and every day. The bigger our movement, the stronger we are. So in formally moving the General Council's statement, let's reach out and tell workers why they should join unions. You see, trade unionism is the reasonable notion that your boss doesn't have all the answers, that working people together have a voice and have power, and how that changes everything. We are the people who brought you the weekend, the 8-hour day, equal pay. We're proud of our diversity, our wonderful president, Sue Ferns, Dr. Roach, who's brilliantly led our campaign against racism. We stand up for our class. We stand up for our class, and it's a multi-ethnic, multiracial working class of men and women in cities, towns, and the countryside too. We're for all working people. Yes, we've got members on the railways, in shops and factories, but also in Uber, Deliveroo, and Amazon. Whatever our background, race or religion, everyone deserves a decent job, a pension, respect. It wasn't wages or workers that caused this crisis, and we refuse to let workers pay for it. People ask me, will the TUC coordinate strike action this winter? And I say, we already are. When workers are left with no choice but to vote for strike action for decent pay, I say, bring it on. For the last 10 years, I've been proud to lead the TUC, and I'm passing the torch to my comrade, the brilliant Paul Novak. At heart, I've always believed that trade unionism is about friendship. Friendship between workers transforms what is possible. Congress, we have hope. Hope in young workers joining unions, workers backing workers, black workers and white workers standing together. Let's take that message to workplaces and communities in every corner of the country. We can build a better world. We will fight for our class, and together we all win. Solidarity.
Well, follow that. Thank you very much, Francis. It's not time for goodbyes yet, but I do want to say a huge and a heartfelt thank you from everyone for all that you've done for the movement in your time as General Secretary. And let's all remember that your leadership has guided us through incredibly challenging times. Austerity, back again, Brexit, pandemic, cost of living crisis, and it has been invaluable. So thank you for everything that you've done, genuinely. Right, Congress, we now have to move back to the formal process